Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today is my next recipe for the 4th of July collaboration that Our Heritage Works and I are doing together. Today I'm going to show you how to make gluten-free buns. So I can make smoked turkey and cranberry sandwiches. I smoked my turkey yesterday. You could serve these sandwiches warm if you like to, but I like a cold turkey cranberry sandwich. While the buns are baking in the oven, I can carve my turkey. If you've ever made gluten-free bread before, you know that it's almost more of a batter than it is a dough. And because of that, it's a little bit more difficult to make something like a sandwich bun because it doesn't really hold its shape. And it depends on the recipe as well. But this recipe in particular is more of a batter. Or it's not even more of a batter, it is a batter. And so I've actually shown you my little cups before, but this is the perfect size to make a sandwich bun. And I've got 6 of these. I thought these were a 6 ounce, but I think they're actually an 8 ounce ramekin. But you could use whatever size that you want. Or if you have a muffin pan that's a jumbo muffin pan, that would work. Or if you want little sandwiches, you could do just a regular muffin pan. Or this recipe is easily made into 2 loaves of bread, the 8x4 loaf pan size. And then you could just slice your bread and make a sandwich that way. This dough is really so versatile. And it's a little bit different than the other bread recipes that I've shown you, but this has become one of my favorites. I always like to have different gluten-free bread recipes because it seems that certain recipes are better for other things. But this one in particular I really like for a sandwich bun. And it goes really nicely toasted or just plain as is. It has such a bread-like texture. And then I have some other bread recipes that aren't so great for sandwiches, but they're really good for stuffing or something like a French toast casserole, which is in my cookbook. So I've got 6 of my ramekins here that are greased with bacon grease. You can grease them with butter or oil, whatever is your favorite method of greasing. And then I put them on a cookie sheet just because it's easier to take them in and out of the oven as one whole unit instead of each individual cup. So those are ready. My oven is preheated to 325. And what we're going to do is kind of in stages with this recipe. You don't have to have a stand mixer. You could make this with just a regular hand mixer, but a stand mixer really makes it fast and easy. So for the dry ingredients, in this bowl, I have 1 cup of my gluten-free flour mix, 1 cup of cassava flour, 3/4 of a cup of tapioca starch. And then I have 2 teaspoons of salt, and 3 teaspoons of baking powder. All in here. And then just whisk this together. You could use a combination of tapioca starch and potato starch, or all potato starch. You could even use cornstarch in this recipe. But cassava flour and tapioca starch are from the same vegetable, so either or. And even though my gluten-free flour has tapioca starch in it, gluten-free bread recipes, they really need a combination of different flours to get the right texture. And it really doesn't take much. Our dry ingredients are all mixed together. So set those aside. And then the next thing that we're going to do is separate 4 eggs. So the whites will go in the bowl of my stand mixer and the yolks will go in with my 1/4 cup of honey. And we'll just get our eggs separated. You want everything at room temperature. Egg white in there. And I've shown you so many times before, but I'll show you again. The easiest way that I have found to separate eggs is to just pick up the yolk very carefully. Maybe you haven't tried using cassava flour yet. I'm actually really enjoying using it with my gluten-free baked goods. It really has a sticky texture that actually helps hold things together, but also it kind of seems to provide a little bit of extra moisture as well. Last egg white in there. Let me clean up real quick. So egg whites in there. Before I turn the mixer on, because it will be kind of loud and I don't want to have to yell at you, I'll show you what we're going to do while our egg whites are whipping. So for the wet ingredients, and this really comes together so fast. You could make this bread recipe in the morning and have it ready for lunch. So 1/4 cup of honey, 4 egg yolks, I have 1 cup of water, and 1/3 cup of olive oil. I've not made this recipe using a different kind of oil, but I don't really see why it wouldn't work. Something like coconut oil or avocado oil, something like that. And then I'm just going to mix all of my wet ingredients together in this container. The dry ingredients are already mixed. So once I start whipping my egg whites, we want those to go to stiff peaks. And then once they're at stiff peaks, I put them in a separate bowl so we can mix the rest of our ingredients in the mixer. You don't want to go the other direction because you don't want any of the egg yolks or oil in with the egg whites. They won't whip up very well. So we do the egg whites first, and they're fine to just sit while the rest of the ingredients are mixing. So I'm going to start this out probably on low speed and then turn it up to high and then just mix my other wet ingredients together in this container. So now that our egg whites are all whipped to stiff peaks, and this is exactly what we want our egg whites to look like. And you didn't have to mix all of your wet ingredients in that little bowl. You could have just waited till you put them in your stand mixer and then mix them in there. But I kind of like to mix it ahead of time. First of all, it gives you something to do while the egg whites are whipping. Although you could grease your pan during that time as well. But I like to give the honey a chance to dissolve in there a little bit. So set aside our egg whites. Get our bowl back on. And now with the paddle attachment, give our yolks, honey, water, and oil a little mix here. And then into the bowl of our mixer. Make sure to get all of the honey out of there. It didn't dissolve all the way, but most of the way. So we're going to start out on low speed and slowly spoon in our dry ingredients until it's all in there, scrape down the bowl, and then mix it on high speed. To scrape the bowl down. As you can see, there's some flour on the sides here. Now we're going to whip this on high speed for about 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes, I usually scrape it down. So you want to just scrape down the sides of the bowl. So now what we're going to do with our egg whites is, because this batter is so thick and sticky, we need to lighten it up a little bit before we fold in the egg whites. So I usually take about 1/3 of my egg white mixture and just plop it in there. And then on low speed, mix in the egg white. And it's not completely mixed in. There's still some egg white on the sides of the bowl, but it has lightened up this batter enough. So now I give it a really good stir. You can see there's some of this egg white that didn't get mixed in, and that is just fine. But it really did lighten up our batter. So now we're going to go a little bit at a time of the rest of our egg whites. And I'll go about half now, and then just gently fold this in. And just keep at it. It might seem like it will never fold in, but it does. And once it's almost all the way folded in, add in the rest of your egg white. And then gently fold this in. Make sure to get all the way to the bottom and scraping the sides as you go. And once you've got that all folded in, it's okay if you see little specks of egg white, but you don't want really big chunks of egg white. We want it to be mixed in, but it really does lighten up the batter to create the texture that we want. So now that that is all mixed, bring over your prepared dishes or pan, whatever you're using. Scrape off my spatula here, just to make sure there's nothing stuck at the top that didn't get mixed in. And because this is more of a batter than a dough, I'm going to pour, about half into each cup and then top them all off, just so I make sure they're all the same size. Now we'll come back and even them all out. Clean up any of your little edges there. And I spilled some over the side. You don't want little bits to burn around the edges, although it doesn't really matter. And then I just have a little bit left in here that I think needs to go in this one. Okay, so they all look about the same. It's all right if they're not exactly the same. So these will go into the oven, again at 325. I check them about 30 minutes, and then we'll test them with a toothpick. Very carefully. So while I've got my buns in the oven, here is my smoked turkey. I didn't do anything fancy. I literally just put on some seasonings that are kind of traditional turkey seasonings, and then I smoked it at 275 for about 7 hours or so. And this is a 13-pound turkey. So I'm just gonna carve up my turkey, and how I like to do turkey sandwiches is I like to shred the meat a little bit. Although you could take the breast and slice it, whatever you like. But I kind of like it as a rough bunch of turkey on my sandwich. And really, the only way to carve a turkey is just get in there and do it. And I usually just start with the skin, and then I remove the skin. And don't throw the skin away. Or the carcass. You can make the most delicious turkey stock. I will say a turkey is a little bit easier to carve when it's still a little bit warm. But this works just fine. And because I'm carving closest to me, I'm not giving you a very good view. But what I'm going to do, got my plate here, already getting messy. I'll carve the whole turkey off camera. You've seen me carve a turkey before, or you've probably carved a turkey yourself. But I'm just going to get a little bit of this meat so I can make a sandwich when my buns are ready. And I like a combination of white and dark meat for a sandwich. But you do whatever you like. So that's more than I need for a sandwich. So let me move this out of the way. And because my hands are still dirty, you could use 2 forks or even just chop this all up really fine. But I kind of like to have it in a little bit of shreds. So in my family, because we can't always be together at Thanksgiving, we have Thanksgiving or something like it whenever we can get together. So this year we are doing a Thanksgiving 4th of July. And as with anything, use your favorite flavors that you like to go on a turkey. This is working out to be perfect timing. I'll have this turkey shredded in time for my buns to come out of the oven, even though we need to let our buns cool off a little bit. Still gives us something to do while they're cooking. If you've watched my chicken enchilada video, you'll know a really fast, easy way to shred a whole bunch of chicken or turkey. And that is put it all in a big bowl and use your hand mixer. That works so well. There. That is the perfect amount for a very full sandwich. I'm going to clean up, stick this little bit in the fridge, and check on my buns. Not prepared. So very carefully move these to a cooling rack. They went for about 40 minutes. I'm going to let them cool off in the ramekins for about 10 minutes. And before I take these out of their dishes, I just want to show you one batch of this bread can make 6 buns this size. And one batch can also make 6 regular muffins, and then this is an 8 by 4 inch loaf pan. So you could have both of this with one batch, 6 of these, or if you made a double batch, which I've never made a double batch before, just because folding in the egg whites, it might be a little challenging. Instead of doing muffins and a loaf of bread, you could do 2 loaves of bread or 12 muffins. This recipe is really so versatile for whatever you'd like it to be. It works perfect as little hamburger buns, or as I'm making today, sandwich buns. It's also really good for dinner rolls, even though they don't look exactly like dinner rolls. I just have a little offset spatula here. I'm just going around loosening the edges. Now, if you try to take these out of a muffin pan or these little dishes too soon, they seem to stick a little bit. But once they've cooled off just enough, they loosen from the sides perfectly. And there we go. I'll do another one for you. They're still kind of hot, so be careful. Nice and golden brown. And as with any muffin or bread or anything like that, if you leave it in the pan too long, it will get soggy. So these are really warm still, but you can see this is a regular muffin. This is a really nice hamburger size, or sandwich size, or if you wanted to do little slider sandwiches, these would be perfect. Although they are the muffin shape, but that's fine. And they are kind of a yellow color, and that's because of the cassava flour. So now, while those cool off, we can get the rest of our turkey sandwich stuff ready. I like my buns toasted. So I'm gonna turn on my broiler. You don't have to do that. You could eat it just like this. But let me show you what the bread looks like. And this is super soft and super squishy. And let's cut open a muffin. Super soft and squishy. And now, one of our really hot hamburger buns. And I'm just gonna cut it right in half. It's really hot. As you can see, they all look the same. That's one of the things I love about this recipe, is it's really consistent every time you make it. So now, even though this is really hot, I wouldn't normally slice them when they're fresh out of the oven like this. But because I want to toast this one for my sandwich, I'm gonna put it right back on the cookie sheet and stick it under the broiler. And you always want to be super careful when you're broiling anything so you don't burn it. I know they make store-bought gluten-free buns, but I usually don't buy them because they have yeast in them, and also I really don't enjoy the texture very much. Sometimes they're a little bit flat, and you can see how nice mine have puffed up. You could actually make them thinner if you want to, if you prefer a thinner bun. But it is the perfect size for a hamburger. Or again, in this case, a sandwich. And then just a basic dinner roll. And this is exactly what I like my toasted bun to look like. It's very hot, but just a little bit toasty on there. So this is a jar of cranberry sauce. Last year I got a little bit excited and bought a whole bunch of extra cranberries and threw them in the freezer. Well, then I needed my freezer space, so I made a really large batch of cranberry sauce. But this cranberry sauce is a little bit different because I also had some frozen blueberries that I wanted to use up. So I just threw in some frozen blueberries in with my frozen cranberries and made cranberry sauce. I'm just giving it a good stir. And then what I like to do for my sandwiches, it's really plain and simple. But if you have your favorite toppings like onions or tomatoes or lettuce, whatever you like, do that. So in this little bowl, I have some mustard and some mayonnaise. And this is actually horseradish mustard. I really, really like it. It has a little bit of heat to it. And I like to mix my mayonnaise and my mustard together. This would be really good with Dijon mustard or even just regular yellow mustard. Or even whole grain mustard, that would be really good too. But something about this horseradish mustard with cranberry sauce is a great combination. So now that's together. Let's bring over our bun. And then I usually put mayonnaise and mustard on one side, however much you like. And same thing, however much you like with your cranberry sauce. And then some of our turkey. And if you've ever smoked a turkey before or a chicken, you'll know that the meat looks a little bit pink. And then I just pile it on. And in years past, there have been times where I actually cut up my turkey and I mix it with the mayonnaise and mustard and the cranberry sauce and make it kind of like a chicken salad. And then you just put it on your sandwich. But I also really enjoy a shredded turkey sandwich just like this. Now take your top, and then I just squish it down so I can take a bite. Now look at that. That is a perfect turkey sandwich. Kind of messy, but so good. Nothing fancy at all. It's such a simple turkey cranberry sandwich, but so delicious. And as you can see, my gluten-free bun is holding together so well. Let me know if you make this recipe, and let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you make hamburgers, or if you make small sandwiches, or even if you just make this bread for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Let me know what you think about it. As with most gluten-free breads, is it exactly like a regular loaf of bread or a bun? No. But it's a really good gluten-free, yeast-free bun or bread. As you know, because I don't use yeast, I am still always searching for a really good roll or bread recipe that doesn't use yeast or xanthan gum. And I have achieved that here. At least I think so. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to head over to Our Heritage Works and see what recipe he'll be making next. And I'll see you on the next one.